All right, so I'll dive right in, obviously, because we said that we want to do the other part of introductions. But the piece I want to focus on right now is really step 9 of the sequence, if you will. Systems to support staff members, PBIS, and implementation. Now, obviously, we are a team here, and we work with other team members, and we all know how challenging that is. And that's why I chose to focus on this piece, because I always welcome feedback on how to, for myself, but how do we get better at communicating this amount of knowledge and skills and strategies in an efficient manner so that things happen and change happens. This is one of my default sort of mantras, if you want. And we are here, obviously, we are going through this PBIS training. We are all pumped up and we really wanted to go back and make a difference. But just because we have the knowledge and the skills to do it, that will not cut it. We have to convince people that we also care about them as human beings, as staff members and as coworkers. So I always try to remember myself, I don't have to prove anyone that I know a lot about PBIS, or us as a team here, we have to prove that, yeah, we got this, we have all the answers. No, we care about you, about your students, and we hope that together we can work to make some change. So does that make sense? Does that resonate with everyone? So just a quick review, as you can see, the overall process, the big picture is we have a team, and that's us right here trying to get this going. We obviously are in agreement about what works, what PBIS is, and then we just heard about the importance of data and how everything we do should be data-driven, data-based. And the plans and the strategies and the things we want to implement should always be driven by the data, evaluate the impact, and then go back to data. So it's like a cycle, if you will, an ongoing cycle of a feedback loop, I sometimes call it. So this is just the big picture. And now we get down to earth. What's that expression? Putting rubber on the ground. There is an idiom about that, right? So, all right, what do we do about it? Because we can talk for days without end about PBIS, but at the end of the day, it comes down to what are we going to do? And it all boils down to action, to behaviors, to actual things that happen on the ground. And that this piece is the action plan. And it's very important to emphasize this because any action involves several things, such as who does it, by when, and how. And so those are, I would say, the key components of what an action plan should entail, if you will. At the same time, we have to acknowledge here as a team, but also when we go back, that sometimes these action plans become overwhelming. And people, when are faced with we already know people are faced with so much pressure and work, and they are overworked, they will give up. So we have to come up with action plans that are very straightforward and start in a very small way, with a small step. And that's another of the quotes I like to share with teams, which is, we want to accomplish a lot, but let's start by taking the first step. Keep in mind what the end goal is, but also focus on the here and now. And that's very important when we are going back to our schools and try to make things happen. If it's our matrix, let's just care about that matrix and get it done, make sure it's done, and then step by step, eventually accomplish everything that we propose. Does that make sense? Are any challenges that you could envision or sort of predict almost when you go back in terms of action planning? Oh, I know what I did. Yeah. Anything in terms of your coworkers, your team members, staff? Yes.
If people don't agree what they should be prioritizing in the action plan, there's disagreement. That could be an issue with developing the action plan.
Right.
How to work through that.
Absolutely. So I think one of the best ways to go about disagreements, which should be acknowledged from the very beginning, that there will be disagreements. It's rare when everyone seems to be on board. I would always do cost-benefits analysis. So what are the top 2 priorities? And try to see, if we do this, what are the pros and cons? If we do this, what pros and cons? And then come to some sort of agreement, and then go from there. So it's worth a discussion, an open discussion about the choices that you have in terms of how to go about a certain aspect of the action plan. And then this really, the action plan then boils down to the staff buy-in. And I think this is a very critical piece of the entire framework, because you can come up with the best action plan, you have the resources, you have everything you need, but if the staff, the teachers, don't really buy in, they will fly with it shortly because it's new, it's novel, and has that, oh my God, maybe this will fix all my problems. But then eventually things start piling up, and they will put it on the side. So the staff buy-in, I think it's absolutely crucial in our efforts to make PBIS really happen, and not only happen for a short period of time, but be sustainable, to stay in place and grow rather than just stagnate and stop. And so about the staff buy-in, which I think it's more difficult than it seems, is we as a team have to work together. We have to be effective, support each other. Then when we go back, we have to be charismatic, if you will, in selling it. And I emphasize selling it. We have to convince those staff, our staff, colleagues, coworkers, that if we do this together, it will make your life easier. And then concretely how, in what way? You will spend less time redirecting. You will spend less time being frustrated and angry at those students, and so on and so forth. So explain them, sell it, how their life will get better because of that. But that the feedback loop doesn't stop there, because they have to come back to us and let us know if those strategies that we proposed and discussed work or not, or what we need to adjust, right? And then we take that, review everything, and then again and again and again. But it's an ongoing feedback loop that we have to keep it going and make sure we adjust it. The last thing we want is to put things down on paper and never look back at them, right? Does that happen with us sometimes? We come up with this great behavior plan. It's nice, good looking on paper, and behavior is fluid. So we always have to go back and review and revise and change. Does it make sense? Yes? I think my time is up.
2 minutes.
Oh, excellent.
Sorry.
Good. Needless to say, at the end of the day, we'll be the face of PBIS. So when we go back, we have to obviously look confident, obviously seeing that we believe in it and that we really think it's a game changer, and be the leaders that they are looking up to. So eventually say, oh, look at him or look at her. She's doing so well in her classroom. She must be doing something nice, so I better do the same thing. Now, just to shift gears a little bit, the same principles apply, the same triangle that we kept talking for the past couple of days in terms of behavior, tier 1, tier 2, tier 3. The same principles apply with staff. We have to accept that not everyone in our buildings will buy in. It's a fact of life. But if we manage to convince about 80% of them to really give it a shot, we are in good waters. Now, for those who will try to, pull it down or sort of advocate for why we shouldn't waste our time, we'll respectfully listen to them, but we should not try to convince them necessarily, but rather let the results speak for themselves. So yes, I understand, validate their feelings about this whole initiative, but at the end of the day, they will be the ones that they will see the change and the positive change that will happen in the building or in the other classrooms who implement PBIS, and eventually they will buy in. That's pretty much an expectation that we have. And if not, we just move forward with those 80 or 90% of the staff, and I think we are still in good. We still have a good shot. Does this make sense? Yes.
Mm-hmm.
So, yes, don't beat yourself too hard for having a few teachers who will always sit in the corner and not really, believe in what you're saying and all that. Good.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
He's like, that was the longest 2 minutes.